Welcome to episode 16 of the 15-Minute Coffee Podcast with Brandon Salazar, your go-to destination for expert perspectives and valuable insights from the world of business. Today I'm here with Dan Geltrude, better known as America's accountant and the owner of Geltrude Company. Now, before we get into the questions, I'd like to thank Mr. Geltrude for being a guest on the podcast.
Hey, Brandon, I'm really happy to be here. So fire away. Let's do it.
All right, let's start with tell me about your early life and career that led you to where you are today.
Sure. So let's start with how I ended up landing at Ryder. Uh, we're talking about 40 years ago, so it's quite a bit of time. And I was interested in being a business major, not necessarily accounting, but you know what my priority was at the time? Playing soccer. So in my mind, I wanted to be able to go to a Division I school and be able to play on the soccer team. So I, at that time, had gone through a number of schools that were recruiting me, but ultimately I decided to go to Ryder, and I've never regretted that for a second. It was a great career, both academically and from a sports standpoint. However, the problem that I had when I got to Ryder was that it's scholar athlete. I left out the scholar part and just figured, well, if I was an athlete, everything else would just fall in place. So I was sadly mistaken. So my first semester, I didn't do well at all, although I had a great freshman soccer season. But my grades were not where they needed to be. So I had to really become more disciplined and balanced. And from that point on, after that first semester, freshman year, I really began to focus on academics. And ultimately, it was quite a turnaround because when I graduated in May of 1987, I was the student commencement speaker, which was a complete 180 from where I had started. So uh, during that journey at Ryder, I decided that I wanted to be an accounting major. And the reason for that was I was looking at what business major was going to give me the most options. And I think everything in life, Brandon, is about options, particularly when you're not sure of what you want to do. So you're at that fork in the road, and do I do this or do I do that? And when you're not sure, I always tell people, choose the option that will allow you the most options thereafter to give you the greatest opportunity to succeed. So to me, that was accounting, because I knew learning accounting was going to prepare me for anything that I was going to see in the business world. So that's kind of where my Ryder journey took me. So I graduate, I'm an accountant, and let's see where it takes me.
I mean, that's a great story. So it's kind of ironic. The same way I started with, I started the same way in college. I'm really good with computers and coding, but I knew that going to a college like a Rider, going to a computer science major wouldn't be the best thing. So I decided to do a business major, information systems, and I kind of just let it go from there because it gives you a lot more options. And I've been loving it. Information systems, data analytics, and computer science. I think it's just so beneficial to be at a business school like Rider, and then have the opportunities of a business student, but also be able to focus a little bit on computer science. So that's a great switch I made early on. So let's pivot to the next question. Can you talk about a pivotal moment of your decision in your career that significantly impacted your trajectory?
So post Ryder, I began my accounting career at Arthur Andersen, which at the time was the largest accounting firm in the world. They were the largest of what was the Big Eight. So again, looking at options, I figured that would give me the best range of opportunities thereafter. So I spent some time at Arthur Andersen, and then I spent some time at a couple of other firms, a mid-sized firm and then a smaller firm. But to answer your question, the pivotal moment for me in my career, at least early on, was I'm going to do this for myself. And that was not an easy decision to make. A lot of people want to be entrepreneurs, they want to be business owners, and it's great to dream about it, and it seems really sexy, and it can be. However, the amount of work that goes into having your own business is incalculable. For since day one of starting my own business, I have to tell you, Brandon, I work to this day, and I'm almost 60 years old. I work more hours than anyone, and that is what you don't see in many business owners. You see their success, but I always say overnight sensations are 20 years in the making. So it seems like a light switch went off, and all of a sudden, this person is successful. It may appear that way, but you have to look at the path behind it, and it's a hard one. It's difficult. It takes a lot of focus and determination. But I would tell anybody listening, if you really want to be the captain of your own destiny, for the most part, it's start your own business, and that's really what changed my entire career, was the decision to say, I'm going to do this for myself. If I succeed, it's me, and if I fail, it's me.
Yeah, I like the point that you mentioned that it's not easy. I've heard that from so many people, and as someone who has parents who own family who owns restaurants, I've seen firsthand the fact that success does not come overnight, and it's something that you have to sacrifice a lot to have success, and in long term, it's never short term success. So that's a great point you mentioned. So then let's go to this question of talk to me about Geltrude Company.
So when I started the firm, and that was back in May of 1995. So as a matter of fact, this coming weekend will be our 29-year anniversary. So what I envisioned in my head was I was going to create a firm that would be a place that I would want to work at. So having experiences working at three different firms before starting my own company, I looked at the things I liked and I thought that were good, and the things I disliked and I didn't think were so good. And I said, whatever I do here, I'm going to make this a place where people want to come here and not have a job, have a career. And what I mean by that is you can be an entrepreneur within my firm. I give our people the opportunity to be as successful as they are willing to work for. If you're willing to learn, apply, evolve, accept change, be the change. And for me to give people an opportunity, people with talent, to give them the opportunity to participate in their own career. How about that? So many times people are like, well, I'm working in my career, and their career is reliant upon what other people do to help them, promote them, or whatever. I wanted to create a firm where I actually wasn't the person making that determination. It's the people who come to work at Geltrude that ultimately decide how successful they're going to be. So what I do is I lay out the path. Here's what you need to do to get to the top. If you can do it, you'll get to the top. But you'll go as far as you're capable of going.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. So it's kind of like how Mark Zuckerberg started with Facebook. So it's funny enough, he let interns, the first batch of interns, make a lot of designs on the app that are actually still in use. Like the messaging part of the app was, I believe, was created by like a first group of interns that were at Facebook, just through a competition that they have, like an internal competition that they have with interns, and like a lot of their prominent like features of the app were made in that type of way. So promoting creativity is another way of making somewhere where it's going to be a career, not a job. So, how did you get the name America's Accountant?
Well, I don't want to say it happened by accident, because I don't believe in accidents. I don't believe in miracles. I don't believe in anything being random. What I believe is that everything is cause and effect. Now, you may not always be able to trace cause and effect, meaning what things happened to give you this outcome, because it's infinite Everything, every action or inaction that we take or not take is all part of where you land. So for me, being America's accountant, I didn't think of that. It traces back to when I first started to go on television, which was in 2016, and I was becoming more and more well known, and there were no other accountants on TV. I was the only one. So I sort of was in a lane that I created by myself intentionally because as I was watching commentators, financial experts who were talking about things on TV, I noticed there were never any accountants. And I found that ironic, being accountants are the most trusted advisors. So I said, that's a gap I could fill. So being on television more and more and more, one day, Neil Cavuto, when I was on Fox News, referred to me as America's accountant. And once I heard that, it was like the light bulb went off. And I said, that is it. That is going to be my brand. And it made all the sense in the world because there were no other accountants on TV. So, of course, I'm America's accountant. Why? Because no one else is. So, I'm going to fill that need to be really the business spokesperson that comes at it from an accounting background. So, the name stuck. And here I am today, America's accountant.
It's a great point that you took it and you ran with it how it was and you made it so much more valuable. So it's a great point because also a mentor of mine tells me to label yourself as the CEO of your own company. So CEO of Brandon Salazar Inc., even though it's not a thing, CEO of blah 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 blah. Make yourself make yourself the label, make yourself what other people seek, make yourself the importance of the business. So there could be 100 other people doing the same thing that you're doing, but no one's doing it as well as you're doing it. Because that's your brand. Make yourself the brand, make yourself stand out. That's one thing that my mentor advises and highly emphasizes on. So what inclined you to actually write a book?
Well, I'm a person that has a lot to say, Brandon, which is why I'm here today with you. And I noticed that many of the people who were experts on television in whatever area, it could be business or anything that they do, their credibility seems to go back to being an author of a book. So I said, well, I think to be able to establish my credibility, I need to be able to write a book about something I have expertise on. And I'll tell you right now, you want to talk about something difficult? Writing a book was probably the single most difficult thing I've ever done because it requires so much focus and concentration. And when you write something in a book, that's it. It's there forever once you decide this is the final version. So there's no erasing things. So the drive towards perfection to get it right just takes so long. So when I wrote the book, again, I said, I want to write a book that I would want to read. And because I'm very busy, I don't have a lot of time, like hours to sit and, read a book. So what I decided was I was going to write a book with short chapters, very direct, make my point and move on so that people could read a chapter or two, absorb what I'm saying, put the book down and go back to it whenever they have time. So it actually had, really a lot of success. At one point, it was the number one bestseller on Amazon. And I was like, wow, I got it right. So it was called Positive Financial Karma. And that was in 2019. So I am in the middle right now of writing another book, which I'm about a quarter of the way through. But again, it's finding the time to put your thoughts down in writing and getting it right, saying exactly what you mean to say so that it lands with the reader as you intended to.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I like how you took the time to understand your audience, not just throw the book into the wild, because I feel like that could have changed a lot of things if you didn't take the time to understand your audience and recognize who you're selling to. So that's definitely a great piece of advice, I would think. So with our last question, what would be the best advice for someone looking to get into accounting?
Well, there are so many opportunities in accounting, Brandon, because there's an extreme shortage of accountants. So when you look at your career, what you want to be in a space that is not overcrowded. Because think about supply and demand. If there's a demand and there's not much supply, what happens? Well, the prices go up because of the scarcity. So I would tell anybody right now, if you have an interest in business, accounting is the best place to go. Now, accounting is going to change, it's going to evolve. There's a lot of outsourcing to foreign countries of the work, and there's also artificial intelligence that, is taking the place of some areas of the profession. But overall, it still goes back to when people are talking about their finances, they want to be able to see someone, talk to someone live. And I think there's just some aspects, at least to this point, that AI can't replace. I don't think AI is going to be as entertaining to clients as I am. So I'd like to think that I have some, something special about me, that, we're still social beings and we still want interaction, maybe less than what we used to, but there's still a need for that. So I would tell people accounting is a great place to be. Learn the fundamentals, understand your craft, but the most valuable part is how you advise your clients. And to the point I made earlier, you need to speak into your audience. You need to speak into their listening. Give the people what they want. People are not interested in just, oh, you finished my tax return. It's a necessary evil. I'll file it. See, AI will replace you. But to the extent where you could take someone's tax return and interpret it so they understand what happened, but that's historical, Brandon. The real value is, tell me what's going to happen in the future. How do I apply history to the future? And when you can do that, that is where the value is. And that's what people are willing to pay for. And that is something that AI, if it ever gets there, is going to, it's going to take a long, long time. So now you build your own path, you're in your own lane, little competition, which means people will pay for value because of the scarcity of the value of what you bring to people.
So you'd say the ability to forecast and analyze would be like very important for accountants.
Most important part is predicting accurately what's going to happen in the future.
I mean, that's amazing advice. So as that wraps up, thank you for sharing your valuable insights and expertise with us. That wraps up episode 16 of the 15-minute coffee podcast with Brandon Salazar. We hope you've enjoyed gaining insights from our guests and exploring the world of business with us. Don't forget to check out the podcast on our social media at the 15-minute coffee podcast on YouTube and Instagram for upcoming episodes. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.